Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of the Mind Clash podcast. We're legal enough to vote episode.
That is actually very true. We should all be legal enough to vote and legal enough to drink sometimes, maybe, because we are 21, so we can do all that.
I need a beer.
You do need a beer. I'm actually drinking some whiskey tonight.
Mm.
I'm not going to drink that whole bottle. This isn't Clueless Space Nerds or anything.
We could pull an open comms here and get really silly.
I love that opening part of the Clueless Space Nerds show, the intro bit where I don't think you're going to drink all that whiskey. I thought it was Coke.
Good times.
Yeah. Anywho, so yeah, welcome everyone to the Mind Clash podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kale Decadence, and I have Mirdud here with me as usual.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
And today we have some returning guests. We have Commander AZE and Magnus. No hellos from them. We also have Roedyn. I don't think Roedyn's been on our show before at all.
No, this is my first time. I'm glad to be here, guys.
All right, and DJ Umene or Erika Mizune.
You can just say Erika. Hello.
Erika works a lot better than trying to pronounce things.
I'm bad at English. You'll find that out.
Yeah, I hate pronouncing things. Today we're gonna have an interesting episode. We're gonna talk a little bit about some CSM things, and we're also gonna talk about various things to do with capitals, Sov, not Soviet warfare. It's gonna be Sov warfare and Sov mechanics. So before we begin, let's go ahead and get some introductions to those who haven't been on the show yet.
Start with Commander.
Hey. So, I'm the Alliance Executor for the Link Alliance, or Lin Kuei. It's a high-sec alliance focused around new players. Additionally, I'm the former Spectre Fleet Alliance Tournament Team Captain, and I'll be competing under a different alliance this time. I can't quite announce what alliance that'll be.
PL Spy. Gotcha. Roedyn.
All right, guys. I'm Roedyn. I'm a line member of Wrecking Machine Alliance, and we run around just kill citadels and empire. I think we're almost up to 60, just about. So we're just chugging along.
The Wrecking Machine, did that come out before or after the Wrecking Machine trailer
Oh
thing?
man, wow, the alliance leadership totally embraced that whole scenario and just ran with it.
Okay, so you already were the Wrecking Machine.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. That had to have been great publicity for you guys.
Well, no. We were. They made it right after the video.
Oh, okay. But you just rolled with it.
Oh yeah,
Man,
totally.
Can't blame you. Cannot blame you.
Just RP'd it. Just ran with it.
Excellent. Magnus.
Evening all.
Well, hello.
You were terrible at intros for such an experienced podcast listener.
Magnus Carrell, member of TSOC, who is in the Army of New Eden Alliance. We are in Tenefris region at the moment, making a new home. Recently moved from up north.
Very good.
All right. So cool. What kind of interesting, fun things?
Hold on.
You missed one? Oh, excuse me.
Erika.
Jesus.
Trying to skip me?
Kale's bad at this.
We already did our girl show, so I mean.
That's it. Get out.
I'm sorry. I'm known as either Erika Mizune, that's my main, or also DJ Umene from Neve Radio, whichever one. I am actually in the same corp as Magnus, TSOC, the Soul Society, and I am one of the directors on my corp, one of the industrial directors, and I also own a gym fighter service.
Nice.
I need 10 of everything to
No,
curse.
seriously. At least 10.
Maybe 20 EMP small.
Okay, so now are we good to talk about what we've been doing in Eve?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll start out. I haven't been doing much. Next.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just, dude, I've been so busy. I spent my entire weekend building or starting to build a new bed for my youngest and final child.
I guess you
So
sleep
got
in the
that
beds you
permanently
make.
fixed?
It's true.
Sadly, I haven't been doing much. I actually just moved for a new job, and I finally got my desktop set up, so I'm planning on starting up some more Spectre fleets and continuing to recruit for my alliance.
Right on. Gotta love that Spectre fleet. Not purple, shoot it.
Yep, not a whole lot on my end on the Eve side of things. But as far as so I've been writing for the Neocom for almost a year now, but I think Proto finally kind of has taken a break from that, and a lot of the contributors that used to be in Neocom have moved over to Eve NT. So I'm looking forward to actually getting back to writing about Eve again, and under a different group of people to work with. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but we'll come back to that.
Yes. We are definitely going to talk about that. Erika, I don't want to forget you again.
I'm sorry?
I said, Erika, I don't want to forget you again. So what have you been up to in Eve?
I've been up to just running my Jump Raider service. That's been taking up a lot of my time. I've been also working, just helping the corp out in general. That's really all I've been doing lately.
Even the small stuff counts. You know, if you can help out your corp in some way, even if you log in just for an hour here and there, and you're jump freighting, so that's helping something. If you're doing PI or
Yeah, I mean, we just moved to a new area, so I'm also like just still trying to bring stuff in that, like we moved from the north side, I'm horrible. We moved from Branch and we moved all the way south, so I'm trying to still work on getting everything down south into Tenerife.
yeah, moving sucks.
It does. It's a lot of work.
It's a
You know,
long move.
when my corporation, we did our move all the way from Tenal down to Amencia, I missed the movement because I was in Afghanistan and I couldn't do it with them, so I had to do it all by myself in a carrier. So I was just lighting sinos on one screen and jumping on the other screen. It took me about 3 weeks to finally slowly but surely move myself from all the way north to all the way south.
Yep, doesn't surprise me.
Sucks.
Especially in the carrier, you're taking twice as many signals than I would.
Yeah.
Erika's being modest. She is the jump freighter queen of our alliance.
Nice. You heard it right here.
Aw, you're too sweet.
Well,
All right, so there's been a... Go ahead.
I've actually been flying spaceships. I know this is weird, but I was flying spaceships this week. I actually got into a diplomatic incident. A friend of the show, Tridget, I decided to bounce over and go hang out with him on a Friday night because it was quiet in Delve and just wanted to go to see some action. And I thought, well, Iron Armada is not blue. They're neutral to goons, so I didn't think any more of it. I knew they were blue to test and CO2, but it's Wicked Creek. It's like 40 jumps away from Delve. Why would there be any issues? So I went out with them and flew in a Ferox fleet, and we got a bunch of kills. It was a good time. Fought on 2 separate fights. We it's different at small gang PvP when every ship counts, opposed to our big fleet warfare in Goons. So we got a bunch of kills. It was a good time. Came back, shot the shit a little bit, and then I was going to head to bed, and I got poked by a Diplo.
Yeah, I think it was a couple nights ago when you were drinking whilst playing.
Never not. And
You know,
yeah, so I was spoken to about flying with a hostile allied entity. So,
Really?
yes.
So you can't fly with your friends.
Well, I'll find a solution.
I mean, what if you're in an MPSI fleet? Or I guess you can use an alt, but I mean, not everyone has an alt. Mike has Araya. I still think he might somewhere.
Probably in PL.
Yeah, yeah, PL spy for sure. So, anyways, you were a bad boy. You got talked to. You know who else was a bad boy in Eve this past week?
I have a guess.
That would be GigX. Apparently, GigX, who was not technically maybe part of his alliance at the time, and he had gotten a random invitation from PL, from what I understand, and decided to join them and wreak some havoc, and then immediately drop Corp and go back.
It's precious. That's absolutely precious.
So yeah, it said it was a post on Reddit. CO2 is dead. Essentially, GigX dropped out of CO2, went into PL. From what I understand, he whelped some supers. I don't really know too many details on that, but that sounds like fun and exciting stuff.
Like, how does that happen, man? Like not even a day into the corp. Oh, here's some supers, GigX. Well,
Yeah, right.
I think it was a couple of dreads and a carrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see some kill mills for some caps.
yeah, that's crazy.
Interesting.
I think he purposely whelped them into CO2 and test as well.
That's wonderful.
Killboard Green!
Also, something appeared on Reddit was broken wormholes. There was a little bit about a wormhole that had like 70 connections to it, which I don't know if you know this, but usually wormholes don't have 70 connections coming in and out of it. So apparently that's been happening a little bit here and there. That kind of goes back to what we talked about last week with the rubber banding and the latency. And there's been some issues on the server that either just don't make any sense or aren't working the way they should be. And CCP did say in a very vague dev post that they would be working on it
soon.
TM. So I mean that's something we kind of have been seeing a lot lately from CCP is that we know it's broken and we'll get to it.
What kind of stuff have you guys been seeing on your end as far as that?
I've actually been seeing a lot of latency, just like we were talking last week. You click on your inventory and it takes a few seconds to populate. Sometimes undocking will give me some weird issues. I know one thing that I've seen in one of my accounts, and it's only specifically to that one, and it's on multiple computers. Is if I'm doing PI and I go to the customs office, I pick up the stuff, I transfer it over and put it into my cargo hold. It won't disappear from the customs office, and it won't show up in my cargo hold until I jump into another system or dock and undock.
Wow.
So I don't know, and it's just that one character on multiple computers.
Crazy.
I put in a bug report, so we'll see how many weeks that takes.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of drone stuff on my end, just like recalling drones, but
Yeah,
they're warping for the last 5 minutes.
I was going to say your
Yeah,
first
for sure.
mistake was doing PI, but
hey, we got to make them iskies somehow. Which I mean, at this point, I don't really need to make iskies. It's kind of one of those things because my typical morning habit is I get up about 4:15, 4:30 in the morning, just because I have to leave the house by 5:30. So I wake up, have a cup of coffee, spend about 20, 30 minutes doing PI until downtime and skedaddle.
Yeah, I mean, I have 5 P4 P3 to P4 planets. Man, it's easy, man. Just doing factory planets, just pump and dump, and then wait like 3 days.
Yeah, I actually do everything from the ground up. I go from P0 all the way to robotics between two
Bless your
characters.
soul.
Yeah, I
Bless
mean,
your soul, man. Oof.
it's not that bad. I've actually got a pretty good system I worked out over the years.
Yeah. You gotta have just the right planets for something like that.
Yeah, works better in wormholes, but nullsec
Mhm.
is good enough.
I mean, tip of the day last week is still relevant this week. The undock button is in the top right.
Right. Yep.
Top right. Big yellow one. Anytime.
Ba-dum-tsh. So, moving along from that, we had some discussion last week in regards to the Winter War / Scooty Duty War. I'm much more partial to Scooty Duty. Um,
It's Minecraft certified.
right. So we talked last week about how the goons didn't necessarily lose or necessarily win, but you went back home. That's actually been the discussion on several different podcasting sites, and it's been on some news sites about who won, what are you constituting as a win, what's a lose, is it financial, is it an emotional win, is it what is it? So is the Scooty Duty War over at this point?
I mean, depending on who you talk to, it's almost, I mean, you get a different answer. But I mean, I think the last type of podcasty type of news I've heard of it, I think it was from Jintan. He's pretty convinced based on his findings that it's not over, that it's kind of a tactical retreat and then hopefully a counterattack. I kind of can't see it, but it'll be interesting if that is the case.
I believe that is Yintan.
Oh, of course, Yintan.
Of course.
Of course.
I will continue to say Jintan because it's just it's so weird to say Yintan, but I love it when he corrects it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough of the politics and kind of the relevance of each system from a tactical and strategic point, as far as moving capitals and stuff like that, to really have an informed opinion. But it kind of makes sense, to if you didn't commit but you're falling back, but you're not falling all the way back, it kind of makes sense that you may be up for a counter.
Well, there's the break line over the HY tack and the EX6 line, where if you're above that, you're in northern catch or southern catch. Northern and southern catch break there. So if you take that line and you start to advance towards Aquarius, then once you hold that space, there's a big gap. That was the big hold line that goons held, and it was so important for us as a strategic objective because you can't even jump a cap across that gap. You need to take that gate.
Oh, really? Wow.
You can.
That's huge.
I think it's 5 light years or something. The difference between those two systems.
Jesus.
It's just like Fountain has that big divide between the systems. There's one section of Fountain and the other section of Fountain, and even though they're in the same region, it's a huge distance apart.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, now that Circle of Test or Walking in Circles Please Ignore have conquered a lot of the jump bridge / Sino beacon points, and Circle of Two have taken all of Impasse, all of it. I don't really see much besides tactical cleanups of all the IHUBs, TCUs, taking whatever SOV they want, installing some renters or some allies. Unless they come up in Aquarius, or unless they push into, they break alliances with FCON or something, I think they're fine. I think they've won this.
Yeah, it felt pretty short-lived. I mean, it wasn't, a prolonged slugfest. It was more like a headshot of sorts, I guess, in its kind of burstiness.
Well, shout out to Jintan and Sullivan Harden on their new show, War Room. It was really good into this because there's nothing for goons to gain for an ally like the Russians if they're not going to fight for themselves. And they really went into goons were helping to defend at the beginning of the war, but if there's no, just like in a SOV battle, if you can only help your allies so much, you have to actually come and defend your own SOV. if the Russians weren't going to turn up and defend, why are we hanging around there spending our money to defend an ally that's not coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been different if we were still in Dominion, where that was actually viable from a material logistics standpoint. But we're out of that particular phase in the game.
And I think that's good, to be honest, because I don't think you should hold more Sov than you are allowed to. If you took a look at Soviet Union, they had like 300 systems, 230 systems before the war kicked off.
Yeah, they're fat.
Like, you don't need that many systems for anything.
Oh, I know. I mean, I don't know of anyone that's in that group, so I can't really say like, hey, how are you guys living in a day-to-day basis, or is it just, is it a production hub? Is it a PI hub? I don't know.
Well, even from a strategical purpose, like if you have a huge, vast swath of space, you can't go around and police all of the Asterhouses or Fortizars that an enemy could put up in your space, because your space is too big to jump around on a regular basis. You could just set up a Fortizar on both sides of the empire, and one of them is going to take.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
It was a contributing factor to why we were pushed out of the north, right? In World War B. Like, it was too big of an empire. We couldn't cross it easily. Once the jump bridge networks were gone, once fatigue really limited us and how far we could move, it was only a matter of time before somebody came and really pushed us, and we had to defend in more than one location.
You're damn right.
ADM maintenance would be an issue as well. I mean, it would take you. Logistics would be awful for ADM maintenance.
Ridiculously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it a lot easier to mine your way to proper ADM, or is it a lot easier to rat your way to proper ADM?
I mean, you kind of have to do both.
We can get a 4.
One method is more efficient.
You can get a 4.6 with 5 in one of them, and strategic 5.
That's a lot of work, man.
Well, ratting, it's not that bad. Ratting is pretty fast. Like 2-3 ratters can easily maintain a 4 or 5.
Holy fuck, really? Jesus.
Yeah, even I can do some ratting. I'm horrible.
I'm not sure about what it is on the mining side, if someone has more insight on how fast oracles can push up the numbers.
A lot. And they're beasts.
Rorquals eat the belts. All the belts.
Literally. Too strong, man. It's too strong.
Are they?
They really, really are. They really are, man.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. Like mining boost or mining ability. One or the other, man. Not both. Jesus.
Yeah, because you can always have your cute little porpoise boosting, or I mean, because it is technically is a command ship. It could do that for you.
Yeah, and that I mean, I don't know if it's, but what I've been kind of hearing from my buddies that actually live out there in Nullsec is they feel that as far as the mining scene is concerned, the Rorquals as it is now have really disincentivized exhumer mining. Eve players being Eve players, like, oh man, fuck this bullshit Hulk, fuck this bullshit Magna, I'm gonna train for a Rorqual. So I don't know if we're still in that phase where people are still ramping up their skills to get one, because it is technically the best. But I don't know. Is it Rorquals or nothing out there? And I was like,
I can raise my hand on that. I'm currently training for a Rorqual.
see,
Damn it, I want to eat some belts. Go ahead, Erika.
I don't know. I was just gonna say that, like, as far as like the training into Rorquals, I've been seeing quite a number of people doing that just because of how powerful they are when it comes to just mining in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new
everybody
thing.
seems to be training into them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new thing. If you can go ahead and chomp down on those belts in a couple hours, as opposed to 6 hours with a fleet, I mean, you might as well.
True. I mean,
and there was a couple of people, because I do a shopping service too, and there was a couple of people that wanted me to buy like a whole bunch of skill injectors just so they can train to a Rorqual super fast.
It's actually what I was going to bring up. So, and this was coming from where do they live? They live in Pravi. Some old corp mates of mine. And what they've been seeing too is a lot of guys that used to have the ratting carriers, right? Are basically juggling their skills in and out of their brains to become Rorqual pilots now. So I was like, man, is that really worth the effort? That's a lot of extractors and injectors, man, potentially. And you know, it's gonna cost a lot because of the diminishing returns you get based on how much you're extracting versus how much SP you got right now.
Yeah, I'm actually going.
In the long end, it can pay for itself if you keep using. If you keep doing.
Yeah.
It'll pay for itself.
Assuming you don't get gagged in that thing.
Yeah, there's always that.
So, since we seem to be talking about that, do you want to go ahead and mosey on into the spotlight of the week and start talking about some of these things?
Yes,
I
sir.
feel like we kind of already moseyed a little bit, but we can carefully and craftfully and professionally segue, as we are professionals here.
Yes, for
Very
sure.
delicate segue.
So, CSM 11 is still active. The judge reminds you that your CSM representatives are still taking questions, comments, especially for the upcoming summit that's coming up in Reykjavik, where the CSM will be voicing their opinions on all the new topics. Hopefully, new things, lots of new things for FanFest. So please communicate with your CSM representative or the person who represents your opinions if you want your voice heard with the CCP. But next year, we're going to need some new CSMs. Probably a couple try to stick around, but CSM 12 is open for nominations, and we have 3 guests here who are running for election this year.
Yep, and real quickly, I threw the link onto the Twitch chat. It's sites.google.com/site/CSM Wire, and that'll give you information on the candidates or those who already put their name in the hat or are formerly running. It'll also give you information on who is the current CSM, so you can contact those who you need to contact.
So right now, people who have put a post up on the Evo forums with all of their information and have thrown their hat proverbially into the ring for CSM 12 are Anthor Doran, Bobmon, Borat Gurin, Capri Sun Crafts Foods, Commander AZE, guest on the show, Drancool 1001, Erika, here on the show, Junor McBlazing, John Dune, Killa B, Mika Rothnick, Rapid Blue, Roedyn, here on the show, Vince Draken, and Winthorpe.
Now, some names that I have seen definitely before. I know that I've seen Capri Sun. I've seen that name last year, as well as Vince, I believe.
Vince, really? Did he run?
I think so.
I don't think so.
How did he not get in?
No,
I don't think so.
How did he not get in?
I find that a very small list. I mean, how much time do we have left until voting starts?
Dude, it's like 6 weeks. I mean, this is a super small list.
That's not a lot of time before you want to throw your ticket in the hat.
You have till February 28th.
Like, bro, last year there was like 80 candidates.
We do have most of the incumbents are saving their candidacy threads until after the summit, and then they'll post. But that's still going to be a pretty short list in comparison to years past.
Like, you'd think at this point you might want to put your name out there so people can start looking you up, figuring out who you are, what you do, who you fly with, what your platform is, quote unquote.
Yeah, I mean, it's really strange. I mean, I really thought that because of I thought the CSM 11 actually has been really successful. And I really thought that people would be even be more motivated to participate as candidates in CSM 12, but I guess not.
That's kind of what I was expecting too. I was the same surprise that there's not as many threads, as there were last year.
Yeah, what were we talking last year? Like 70 something?
Yeah, maybe it'll be like a spike when the actual submissions go live.
Probably. But even if
Maybe.
that is their strategy, though, that gives them around 4 weeks to really put themselves out there, assuming they're not already space famous.
Yeah, and at that point, like, you got a month, and if people don't know you, then they're probably not going to vote for you.
Yeah, I have to double check, but I'm almost certain there's not a dedicated faction warfare dude in here. Like from the war zone, like you'd know him, But I'm a little disappointed at that one. I was really hoping some fellow Cal Mill guys would be putting their name in the hat.
Put my Alpha alt in there.
Oh, that's a good point. I'm curious if there's gonna be an alpha running this year.
Actually, they can't. But I
Cannot.
could see an Omega running as an Alpha.
Yeah, now somebody who's advocating on behalf of alphas certainly can, but unfortunately,
Can't vote.
I don't know if I want to say fortunately or unfortunately, I still kind of feel like maybe alphas should be able to run, but I don't necessarily think that alphas should be able to vote because you are going to have that, people control the system. And I know there's, you have to have an active account for X amount of days, but if you plan your cards right, you can set up hundreds of accounts 6 months prior.
Well, I thought alphas can run. They just
Yeah,
can't vote.
alphas can run. Just like you said.
Yeah, they just can't vote.
Yeah, they
Damn,
can't
look at that.
vote. Just basically, here. Do you want me to post a link for you to
Yeah,
the
sure, please.
dev blog?
Yeah.
Or want me to post it in Twitch or?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when they came up with that announcement.
Yeah.
Immediately,
I
was thinking is that's gameable. That's totally gameable. Because an alpha, is an omega that dropped back to an alpha. Does that count as a quote unquote alpha, or is that guy technically running as his more established omega tune that just happens to be an alpha right now?
Okay, so this article that you just posted, it did just come out a few days ago. Let's see, where does it say? Both alpha and omega accounts are eligible to run. So awesome.
Under application
Yeah,
requirements.
I think that's great because an alpha definitely has a voice, and someone needs to be an advocate for that part of the community.
Yeah.
Alphas are people too.
Alphas are people too.
I don't want to be that guy, but anybody who's running on a new, like if they ran as a new alpha, they don't stand a chance.
No, I mean, as far it's gonna be really tough. Or is it kind of like the way Wingspan did it?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like Wingspan, when he ran, he'd only been playing for a matter of months, just a few months, and he won.
He ran on real life skills, essentially. The marketing guy.
People dug him. They liked watching him. They knew what he was about, and they wanted to see him. So, if there was someone like that who came in and was like, "Hey, I'm a new player, and this is what I feel," I mean, why not?
Can an alpha, you think, though? I don't know if they'd be able to hang in that kind of environment, to be absolutely honest with you.
I think 3 or more years ago, no, they would not have been able to be in with the good old boy crowd. But I think now, kind of the way things are, certainly they could not only fit, but I think each side would benefit from different viewpoints like that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're informed, I think that really is the biggest thing, and they're willing to, take criticism.
Yeah, I mean,
can't see why not.
There's stuff that I learn every day. There's stuff that new players can learn every day. It doesn't matter if you're old or new. There's something for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys were in the NPE roundtable a few weeks ago. I think there was
Sadly, no.
one actual genuine alpha there that was in the recording. And he had some really good questions, man. He had some really good recommendations coming from an alpha. But if you guys listen to that recording, I kind of felt bad for the guy. He's like, "No, man, that's a bad idea. No, man, that's a bad idea. No, that's gonna break the game." It's like, oh, come on, guys, give him a break, man. That's actually coming from based on his experience. That's actually a really good kind of way of thinking about the game. But we kind of had to bring him back to reality. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, fresh eyes. All right, so there's that CSM thing. We don't have a whole lot of candidates. You guys are all running. So we are going to start doing some CSM candidate spotlights here in the next coming week. So be prepared. We'll have you guys come back on, I think, one or two at a time to kind of drill down on some issues. But let's move right along to structures, if we could. So far, we have some new structures. We have the citadels, medium, large, extra large. And we have the engineering complexes, medium, large, extra large. Which begs the question, are we going to see some small ones? And is this going to replace the posses?
From a wormhole eviction standpoint, we need them to be in parity. Right now, doing wormhole evictions, people are still relying on passes for that instant foothold. If we find ourselves in an environment where there are no pauses and there is no small citadel equivalent, man, everybody moving to wormholes. You ain't getting evicted now.
Right. I mean, it only just seems to me like, obviously, if we started at the medium, chances are, we know posses are going to go away, then certainly smaller ones are going to come into play. What do we think those are going to look like? Or not really look like, but what is it going to do for us?
I mean, I would imagine they would have to be somewhere in between mobile depots versus Astra houses. Like I know that's a really big difference.
So right now, as it stands, if you have a POS, you have to add on your hangars. You have to add on all your modules so you can dock X amount of or store X amount of ships in there. For medium citadels, there's not a limit, right?
No, there's no limit. I mean, there's
There's
an
no-
access list, but that's it.
Right. So do you think smalls will kind of bridge that gap where you can put a small in, but it can only hold X amount of ships or things?
It would have to. It would have to. I mean, from a do we so besides my example of wormhole eviction, do we actually need one? Like, would nullsec benefit from an in between, kind of structure?
I don't think nullsec would, but absolutely wormholes would.
Yeah.
I mean, especially they're gonna get rid of pauses. So at that point, you got your 5-10 man corporation that lives in a C1 C2. I mean, what are they gonna do when their pause goes away?
Well, there's still also things that you can't do with the Citadel the boss has, like the Sino beacons, moon mining,
Yes, moon mining.
Right. So
and
that's
the jump bridges. I mean, there needs to be obviously some replacement for those,
yeah. So
especially moon mining. I mean, you kind of need the moon gift to build stuff.
I think there's definitely going to be some new platforms. I mean, they've talked about asteroid belt platforms. There's been a lot of speculation and tinfoil hattery. Even myself, I've had some tinfoil hat on what the moon mining platforms would be like. It'd be kind of like a PI style. You place your command center down and you look for the best source of the moon goo, per se.
Yeah, it's gonna be strange. I mean,
But here's my thoughts on that. So we don't know any more now in regards to smalls or other structures than we did a year ago. I mean, shoot, we knew about the upcoming SOV structure, or not SOV, but the SOV mechanics a good 6 months in advance. We knew about the Citadels a good 6 months in advance. And here we are, fall. That's all we know. Fall, we're going to see more things, and we know nothing else. You guys think CCP's taking their sweet time on this, or do we need to see some news by FanFest time, or what's up?
I think this fall is the mining platform's release, or at least the planned release, and it got pushed back from the spring. But I really think that they do need a lot of work with those mining platforms to make them work correctly, specifically around moon mining and reactions. because there's a lot of mechanical issues there that can come up that can easily be abused if they don't set it up correctly. If they make it so that a structure can do more than one reaction in one location, you could potentially run a 200 billion ISK a day reaction setup in a pod or in something that costs less than a POS to fuel if they fail to do this correctly. And I don't see that as being a good thing to push out for the spring. Although it is going to be if they don't release something this spring, I don't know what this release is really going to look like.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if, because kind of opposite of what they've done before is where they've released the information or the ideas so long prior, and there was just like so much animosity and toxicity from the community that they're kind of like, you know what, let's kind of hold on to this one until we get closer to it, and then we'll just kind of shock the community because I mean the alpha thing that came out like bam, hey, we're doing this. We're like, oh,
Hey, what is this shit? Is this a troll?
yeah. Yeah, so maybe they're kind of holding their cards real tight, and we're not going to know about that. But I mean, damn, here we are. We've been talking about these magical structures. I mean, from I think FanFest last year, maybe even Eve Vegas the year
Yeah, I
before.
think for even further back, like almost 2 years ago, there
Yeah,
was something like Citadels, right?
yeah, they talked about jump or the player-made jump gates, the drilling platforms. I think that was Eve Vegas 2 years prior.
Yeah, yeah. I
So I
mean,
mean,
from the folks that I've spoken to, like I use Citadels. I live in a wormhole. I use Citadels all the time. From the Nosec dudes, from the dudes in the NETC, and the market guys. There's some very nuanced functionality that's still missing out of the current set of structures that we have. I imagine CCP hopefully will feel compelled to fix them before we actually move forward. Things like for markets, ranged orders, as far as I know, ranged orders from those market forazars, there's no API endpoints for them, so you kind of can't see them. Access control lists for structures are still kind of borked. If you're not familiar with them, they're kind of grouped together in this really odd way. Like you can't just be a guy to fuel the Fortizar. By default, you're the guy who fuels and mans the guns. It's kind of, you know what I mean? It's not quite compartmentalized the way the roles work, the way we're used to seeing them, although it was in a very awkward way presented in the POS system.
yeah, and I think it'd be almost a little bit out of I don't want to say overpowered, but out of tolerance. Because once if you have like just a basic citadel without anything that's going on it, you don't have to have fuel. So if you had a small POS that could do, you could dock into, and you didn't have to fuel it. Jesus, imagine that kind of fun.
Well,
Not having to run
yeah,
out and get fuel every few weeks.
it's a instant safe spot, right?
Yeah, right.
We'll see. As
So
far as those drilling platforms, I'm really curious. Commander AZE really brought up a great point there. At one point, I was running back in the day when I actually lived in Nullsec, like almost a decade ago now. I was running with my corporation 10 large Kaldari reaction passes, and they made a lot of money. If these drilling platforms are drilling only, and you need another set of platforms to do the reactions, that may be a good balance point as far as that activity goes. But to be an all-in-one, I don't think it's going to be an all-in-one based on how we've seen the current citadels. They seem to be quite specialized based on their like family of structures.
Could the
who knows?
could the medium have a set of abilities? The large have a separate set of abilities. The XL be the grandiose ability.
Yeah, like a combo type deal.
Well, so let's take a moment and talk about the different sizes here. I wrote an article for Imperium News a while back, and all of the numbers of it are completely gone to hell and back. specific about rigs. So the medium rigs used to be, reasonable. They still kind of are. If you're a decent size alliance, you can get a T2 rig, and your Astraeus can be 6 billion-esque, which is okay, a little expensive compared to what it used to be. You get good refining out of it, so it's worth it. But the the idea behind releasing some of these structures, like the industrial complexes, the mediums are affordable for everybody ish. The larges are a stretch goal for a lot of groups, and the XLs, when the rigs were about 17 billion apiece, wasn't outrageous. It was a possibility for a medium-sized alliance to actually consider owning one. Those rigs have jumped to 35 billion-esque apiece for a T1 rig. I
Yeah,
really think
I've seen some discussion going around about how owning a smaller one with T2 rigs is probably more profitable and more reasonable than owning a larger one with T1s even.
it is. It is, because you actually gain the same bonus on all sizes of structure. The only difference is you are more specialized on the smaller structure. So you might only be able to build with the T2 rig bonus on small ships, on the small structure. But on the XL, one rig covers all of the ships.
Yeah, I mean, one of the concerns actually that was brought up to me again by my Pravi bros. Love you guys. Give me all these inputs. The price of and functionality of an upgraded MR outpost is not quite in parity. It is in parity with however, a Tech 2 rigged Sotillo. But from a price perspective, dude, the difference is huge. It's absolutely huge. And you're losing some tactical abilities in there because people can see what you build, So is that a fair transition from outposts, which we can no longer build more of now, versus the granddaddy of them, the Tech 2 rig Sotillos?
Hey, when are the goons building the Palatine? When's that happening?
I don't know, man, but
Fat chance.
there's a lot of raw materials getting taken out in big chunks periodically.
Yeah, somebody's building something.
Oh yeah, someone's building something.
All right, cool. So talk that kind of to death. So I know a few of you have some thoughts and opinions on war deck mechanics. Anybody want to chime in on that?
So I'll go ahead and start. For the last 3 years, I ran on a campaign for CSM that war decks are straight up broken. And not necessarily in terms of mechanics, although there are plenty of examples where it fails that test as well, like neutral logistics, completely outside of the war. One alliance assisting another alliance, getting called in as an ally, can't actually remote rep the other guys without pulling a suspect flag. There's those kind of mechanical issues, but the real issue is there are no win conditions. This is my opinion totally on this. Defense has no reason to actually play the game. So let's say you're a high-sec corporation, small group that just runs industry. Your goal for that week of war is to deny your enemy content for an entire week. And the easiest way to do that is to play Farm Simulator 17 and just disregard Eve for a week.
Yeah.
That's not a good mechanic. We need a mechanic that's out there that goes, hey, if you actually put up a fight, you can end this early, or you can end this on your terms in some way. And I'm not saying that all of the buffs or nerfs to this need to happen against the aggressors, because there's stuff that the defense needs to have taken away from them as well. And I do understand, like, some of these groups go out there and they want to fight they just want to mass war deck everybody because they no longer can hunt the way they used to with the watch lists, where you used to be able to just watch list an entire alliance and then hunt the ones that were online. Now it's one by one, check where they are, and it's a whole mess because you don't know who's online anymore.
Yeah. So what are some ideas that you think would be able to solve that? Because I mean, I think one idea might be how you have the dual system, where both parties would have to accept to fight.
I think it's actually even more fundamental than that, to be honest with you. I think, having been on both sides of wars in completely one-sided manners, I can say that, as the defender, like what Commander AZE has said, like, as long as one of the possible paths you can take to quote unquote win as a defender is to not participate, to not play. And I think we really do need to address that part first, before we get into the mechanics. I think mechanically, for the most part, like, Commander A's and myself here, been in the War Deck Project Discord, and there's been incredibly healthy discussions there. And one of the things that, tends to always come up again and again and again is motivation. Like, why should people bother? If we can't get past that barrier, I don't think there's going to be much value in changing mechanically how we interact with the war deck system.
Absolutely. And I think in part of that, it's not having the known ways of actually interacting with the system. So one of the ideas that's a more recent idea that I've had, and I'm sure somebody else has thought of this because this mechanic's been broken since Crime Watch 2.0 and all of that, um, is create an actual diplomacy window so that you can go in there, set conditions. We're declaring war on you because of X, and we want X to end this, or this is our goal. And I think that would provide a lot of clarity. And, for the people that want to be mercenaries and, you know, extort people, it would provide an opportunity there. We're war decking you because, well, frankly, we don't like you and we think you have money. That's perfectly acceptable. But you got to be able to put something on the table that you're vulnerable as well. And like the running theory is, oh well, everybody stands an equal chance, and that would be true in the instance that this was like a first person shooter and everybody was the same maxed level of every skill. Here you have people that can't fly a combat ship. I have several people in my alliance that could not fly a well-fit T1 frigate.
Let me tell you about the benefits of the Velator.
Hey,
Go
hero
on.
gems in the AT.
Sino Bellator.
But it really, it comes down to giving defense an actual reason to do something. Give them a reason to come play the game and have them stand a chance. There, and I don't have all of the answers on that. And after 3 years of discussions with everybody and the war deck group, there is no answer. I don't think whatever system that does come out of a rework on wars, I don't think it's going to look anything like the current system, and I think that that'll be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, at least the way I see it, from like, especially from the attacker's perspective, if you want defenders to actually engage in this feature, You really have to address crime watch first. Like there's I don't think there's really a way around it, because like I'm coming from a Citadel killing crew. We use the Vortex system all the time. So for us, there's not a whole lot of we use it in a very heavy-handed manner. See structure, kill structure, go home. That's what we do. I think the really difficult to answer parts of that whole feature happens when there isn't something to fight for, when it's just a bunch of ships versus a bunch of ships that could dock or just not log on, and that's just really tricky. But I think one of the first steps really has to be to address Crime Watch again, and that's gonna be messy to be honest, especially in this environment that we find ourselves in with citadels and all that stuff.
One of the ways that I've thought about is potentially having it parody nullsec warfare, where it is somewhat structure based. You know, if you can defend on the timer, then the war ends. If you can win on the timer, then to start the war, you have X amount of days to reinforce a known structure or set of structures. Once you successfully do it, it extends the war deck so that you can make the next timer, or something like that. That might add an actual incentive to get them out and fighting.
So
If they know they can win.
should a person or a corporation or alliance who's doing the war decking, should it be a requirement that they have a structure, they have a citadel?
I think that would provide for some counterplay.
It's pretty tough. I mean, kind of one of the recommendations that I've seen about wars actually revolves around denying NPC station services during time of war. Will that motivate you to, hey, well shit guys, we can't fucking use the market. We can't without paying like ridiculous amount of tax, we can't fucking reprocess our shit. We better fucking fight.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously there has to be some reason why you'd want to do it. I mean, otherwise, what's the point? Like you said, go ahead and play something else for a week.
Now there are some like rather quick fix, quality of life things that I think CCP could change, and the War Deck group has almost unanimously come forward and said that this is a good idea, specific around neutral logistics. You have an alt that's in a NPC corp that warps in right at the last minute when you know that you're going to die, and they rep you up because your opponent had no idea that you had help in system. I think from the War Deck Roundtable and all of that, we discussed it. I think changing that from a suspect flag to a Concord flag would be reasonable.
Could you could you implement this to where it's not specifically just say a war deck thing like high sec war decking would be, but could you do it in a way where it would be official for like everyone across the board? So like goons could officially declare war upon this alliance and have that same kind of incentivization go towards that. I mean, it'd have to be pretty universal, right?
It's possible. I think you would almost have to tie it to location though, in some way. Like one of the ideas that's floated around is kind of creating, if your corp owns structures, have where their structures are or the region in which they hold structures be a legal war zone. And that way, for the people that don't want to be involved in the war, they still have the option of going out, playing the game in the other areas that are not that war zone and being
Ah,
relatively safe. And that would give our
yeah,
new bros an option of saying, hey, these systems are safe for you,
absolutely.
but it would also kind of fit the nullsec mentality of having a capital system. This is
Yeah,
this is our home.
yeah,
And
because
they've
you would
conquered
you would
this.
think that if you're in high sec, that should be applicable regardless. Like, if you're going into a neutral country, well, fighting can't happen in that neutral country unless NATO or a other organization gets in there and goes, "Hey, you can't do that here. This is a safe zone. This is can't. I'm on the couch. Everywhere else is lava." If you got that reference.
But this is Eve. You should be able to bribe the police to look away in any system. You should be able to pay mercs to go in and do your dirty work when you don't want to get there.
Yeah, I mean, at the surface, without structures as kind of like a common ground to interact with, like the Vortex system just gets really messy, man. I mean, should it be okay for wars to happen when? I mean, they need to be. You need to be able to have combat in high sec. I mean, at its bare bones, the war deck system really is nothing more than, hey, Concord, don't fuck with us for the week when we're gonna go fight in high sec. That really is it. But once you go beyond that, and doesn't take much to go beyond that concept to to play off whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with that war in the first place. And the feature itself is very limited once it gets past that point.
Well, outside of Wardex, what other issues or concerns do you have with HiSec at the moment, and would be an important feature to bring up with CCP? Anything about there being so many citadels in HiSec, or potentially the mineral shortages that are available that we're facing in HiSec?
In high sec, like right now, I would probably say that the API stuff for Fortizars, man. Being a trader market guy, and a lot of my friends do the same. It's very difficult to. So before Fortizars and Citadels and all that stuff, a lot of folks were just using the API that was available to create spreadsheets and create forecasting tools for trade and all that kind of stuff. But right now they can't really do that nearly as well, because there are certain elements of the API that are simply missing in regards to the citadels, the orders that are being placed from the citadels. So hopefully that's something that can be addressed, because Eve is really a game where third-party tools are more relied upon than the actual in-game interface. Take that for what it is. So I'm really hoping that's something that's one thing that does get addressed.
Absolutely. I mean, the API continuing to make useful endpoints is vital. Like just off of my alliance, we run 4 or 5 spreadsheets. One for calculating ore buyback that we can toss around all sorts of people. One for calculating our profit for building anything from freighters to jump freighters to any other build that we've done in the past. We have every step of the equation done. We have all of our reaction passes on there. We have all of the fuel levels on there for every station. Those are all things that are vital to have, and in some cases I wish they were easier to work with. Just adding a label throughout for the people who are not as tech savvy like myself. I have no formal training when it comes to coding, but I'm able to make my way around the API reasonably well to make up a spreadsheet. Getting that couple steps higher than where it is will help lower the bar for entry for a lot of people, and I think that'll really kind of push the competitive nature of Eve.
So I disagree with you there. I don't think that tools in the API help the average player. I think they help the medium to veteran player to continue to prosper at the high level. And I think
the power player.
I think those players have already figured out their niche and are already doing good at their jobs. and that any adjustments to out-of-game tools like that is a quality of life improvement for them at a high level.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Whereas a change to something like additional tools or additional visibility within the market window would make it so that players who don't know that there's an EVE Central could actually look at the prices in Corazor, besides having to run from Omar to Corazor to see the difference. Or if they pull up their market in Solitude and they can't find a Plex, they go, oh well, I guess there's no Plexes.
Yeah.
Which I think those are legitimate the problems that newer or inexperienced players have.
Okay, so with that, and since we are kind of running short on time, and we're not going to be able to cover everything, do you want to kind of transition real quickly into the player acquisition and retainment, since we are kind of talking about new players, kind of?
All right. So easiest thing. So my alliance Lin Kuei in-game ticker is LINKK. It's easy to remember. We recruit alphas right off the start. We get them into incursions. We get them into higher end PVE in their get them in a destroyer. We can get them through a level 4 mission. Get them into a cruiser, and we can get them into an incursion, making 10 million ISK in 8 minutes. We're not running for speed. We're running for let's expose people to content. But the biggest issue by far when it comes to, at least from my perspective, running a new player alliance is fixing wars. When you tell somebody, you can't go into the trade hubs, you can't, you have to really pay attention, they don't know what to look for. There's nothing in the NPE to tell them about war mechanics. And the Crime Watch help video doesn't really cover mechanics. It just tells you you're a target.
Yeah, I mean, and I brought it up plenty of times before. Unfortunately, some players, especially really, really old school players, will say like, "Oh, no, we don't need this in there because if you can't figure it out, that's your problem." But at the same time, I mean, you kind of do if you want new players to come in, you can't make this game so hard and so unnavigatable. Is that a word? Unnavigatable. You can't make it to a point where you just can't figure something out. Like I've never played any other game where I've had to legitimately say within the first 5, 10, 20 minutes, okay, I have to go Google this or I have to go look at a YouTube video just to figure out how to do this thing in the first 10 minutes of a game. Like there's no other game I've ever played that does that besides Eve. And is that something we want for the next 5, 10 years that we're doing this game, where we have new players come in like I did back in 2006, where you pretty much start off in the middle of space and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what to do because there's no instructions. Cool.
Yeah, but at the same oh, go sorry.
You can go ahead.
But at the same time, we find it like, I was probably, so I started in 2009. If I were not exposed to Eve then, and I started Eve now, I don't think I would stick with it, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, when I started Eve, I wasn't nearly as versed with the MMO genre as I am now. So Eve really ruined the MMO genre for me. I find myself comparing, oh, that's kind of messed up. We were able to do this in Eve. Like, oh man, that mechanic's lame. This is how CCP does it. But one of the main reasons I think that I would not stick with the game today, if I were to go back to the future style and grab myself in 2009 and plop my happy ass in front of the laptop now, is because I would not feel as incentivized to work on the game and feel rewarded by learning the game. Um, I think that we have a lot of new player entities that go out there and help out the new players. But I think one of the key things that kind of gets taken away when we try to do that, but certain groups, it sucks to say, but kind of fail at it. I think you take away that feeling of accomplishment when we do eventually figure it out as intelligent people playing a video game.
Yeah, because all right, who here has played other MMOs prior to Eve?
I played like 2.
I've played a whole bunch.
So
Yeah.
so
WoW,
where
Guild Wars 2,
where do these
Star Trek.
fingers where do your 3 fingers go to immediately when you start playing a video game?
WASD.
WASD. That's
Yep.
the first thing. That's the first thing. I've gotten away from that, obviously, since I've been playing Eve. But when I first installed the game and started playing, my fingers immediately went to WASD, and the fact that I couldn't use WASD and I couldn't immediately understand the mechanics of how to move about, I gave up. I'm telling you, I was that part of that statistic that within the first 2 hours I was done. I was like, you know what? I can't figure this out. I'm out of here. So I started in 2006, couldn't figure it out, left, came back a few years later, still couldn't figure it out, come back a few years later after I start learning about like, oh, all these cool things are happening. And I forced myself to study EVE Online before I even re-downloaded it. I had to study it and figure out, okay, let's watch this video and how do I move about and how do I do this and how do I make money? And I probably watched, God, uh, a semester's worth a semester's worth of courses before I actually got myself back into the game.
That was like my first experience, kind of. It's I undock. I go warp to this site. I get blown up, and that was it. Because I don't know what to do after that. Um, I was gonna say that I did play through like the new stuff. I do like the like the new player starting experience, but it's still missing a whole lot. Like it still doesn't go into really much detail, like as far as like the industry side stuff. Like there's no instructions really without like actually going to like YouTube videos
Yeah.
or whatnot for
And
like
I,
PI or scanning. The scanning video that they have
yeah.
in the game is just horrible.
And,
It's oh
and
my
I mean,
gosh. um,
I've said it before, like there's literally no way that you could put this
you kind
into
of
a tutorial, but at the same time, like kind of like they're doing with the flight instructor videos, there's got to be some way that they could advertise or push. I know you can't like have favorites of like, oh, go to this corporation and go to that, but there has to be a way to maybe highlight videos in game, or there's got to be something that we can do so our players, because there's a lot of players who've been playing for years and still have no clue about 85% of the rest of the game.
I found the MPE still spoke pretty high level like language. I'd played the game for a while, so I could understand it. But I could see where a vanilla player brand new would be like, huh?
Yeah, and that's kind of how we were talking about a few weeks back, how, or was it last week when we were talking with Rain about actually being able to talk with people on stream and seeing what they're doing and kind of understanding, because it's kind of hard where some players ask these questions and you're like, I don't I don't know what you're talking about. So it'd be better to see it rather than talk about it, because lingo might be different. Like I saw this morning on the help channel, somebody kept calling, hey, I gotta figure out how to get back into this quest. That's a common MMO thing, a quest. And we're like, it's not a quest, it's a mission. But there's terminology is different. There's a lot of things that are not the same.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I recommended from the NPE was like, and of course, it makes sense that it's like, oh yeah, that's not gonna work. Was You know how we have ISDs for forums? So
Yeah.
what if we had some sort of genuine player agency to actually work with tutorials specifically?
You're talking
Uh,
about like the God, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a group of people who's specific, like
almost like junior GMs, you know?
yeah, like a junior GM. I can see that.
And I understand like oh that can lead to perception of favoritism, but if we take away their connection to the in-game world by kind of like how the ISDs are in the forums,
Yeah.
I,
And,
I don't know if that's
and
gonna
like
work.
like the judge is saying in the chats, like yes, there is the ISD in game, there is the game masters, but at the same time, like even like myself, I have the help window open every time I log into any of my characters. The help window is open, and if I'm not particularly involved in anything, I will go in there and I will assist where I can, and I don't try to influence. Actually, I don't try to. I don't at all. I don't influence players to go to a certain place, but if they ask questions, I try to help as much as I can in giving them information, uh, whether they want to retain it or take it or not. But I think, unfortunately, they have been indoctrinated to everyone's spy or everyone's trying to get you. So it's kind of hard to give information when they don't want to believe you.
Yeah, I mean, look at Mike, man. He's having a hard time giving away stuff. Like Mike Azariah and the
Yep.
Magic School Bus. Like,
Yep.
he's literally going into starter systems and handing out frags. They're like, no, it's a trick. It's a trick.
Yeah. Anywho, so do you think that as far as player retention, I mean, we had the alpha, we went free to play, all kinds of website exposure. Have we peaked? Have we hit it?
It worries me that CCP has not released numbers about alphas. It worries me that
Preach.
it worries me that because if it did well, you'd want to advertise that, right? Like, oh, look,
Exactly.
guys, we have X number of new genuine alphas. We have
Just
X number of alphas that upgraded to omegas. Like, that's
Yeah.
a great advertising selling point. But if you
Yeah.
don't do that, dude, that's super scary.
Yeah, just wait for my article to come out on the Imperium News in a few days. You're going to see it. Like, I don't understand it. I do not get how CCP as a company has not tried to advertise or propagate this a little bit more than what they have. They're relying on us and word of mouth, and I don't think it's the right answer.
The judge makes a good point. You should never expect numbers to become public because that's too closely attached to their business.
And I agree at the same time, but we've seen it when we launch our client, when the alpha Ascension came out, we saw a spike. We're like, damn, there's like 50,000 players online. When's the last time we seen 50,000 at this time? And then the next week it was 40,000. Next week it was 30,000, and now it's like it's back to where it was before. And like,
Yeah,
I think
23,000 right now.
yeah, it peaked up and then went down. And
It's
I don't.
it's still 45, 47 on a Saturday in Euro Prime.
And that's how it was before. It hasn't changed.
You should look at EVE Offline. It is changed.
I have. I know it has a little bit, but that's also part of the winter, summer, the lows and highs and lows of that. It's all relative. Anywho, so would anybody else want to chime in about should we have more product placement? Should CCP as a company do something about marketing? There's even been talks before of an EVE TV show.
Oh yeah, yeah,
In
it's
a
a while
word,
ago.
absolutely.
That was supposed to be a thing. And I think, didn't they announce that at the 10-year?
It has before been announced, and there was talks about. I know there's like some sort of article that came out as far as who might direct an EVE Online TV show. And I'm gonna be honest, when I saw The Expanse come out on Sci-Fi, I honest to God, like when I saw the first trailer come out, I thought that was the EVE Online TV show, and I almost shit myself. And like just watching it, like I could see that as the EVE TV show like that style of show.
It was pretty close, yeah.
Oh my god, I love The Expanse, and I cannot wait for season 2 to come out.
That first ship is a Rorqual. I don't care what you say.
For show.
It really would be just an amazing, like, Game of Thrones-esque type series. Like,
Yeah, it'd be epic.
They also like have like ships that are like named like Eve ships. Like there was a couple that I remember. Like I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember like it was sticking out of my head that the names were like names that are in Eve, like Eve ships. I can't think of it right now. It's bothering me. Oh my gosh.
I imagine it'd be Amar stuff, right? Instead of they sound cooler.
Oh yeah.
Now this is gonna bug me. This is gonna.
My Netflix will hate you now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as marketing, I mean, think about it too. Like as a genre, MMOs aren't doing too well, industry wide.
It's all kind of shifting. It's all shifting to MOBAs and like card games and stuff like that. Real quick, like you can just get into it, get out, call it good for the day.
Yeah, I mean, is if MMOs are dying as a quote unquote dying as a genre, I think it's more of oversaturation more than anything, and poorly implemented microtransactions that aren't very micro. Looking at you, Arcade. Yeah, I mean, is maybe there just isn't general interest from the gaming public for the genre, and in turn that will obviously hurt games within the genre like EVE Online, which is like a niche of the niche genre already.
Yeah, it could be just like a general societal thing where it's just a lack of interest in the long term. Everyone wants just to get in a game, get out, play on their phone, flick a few things around, run a little circle on their finger, and call it good.
Yeah, Eve's just not like that, man. Eve's work. I'm not gonna lie, Eve's work. We look at this, man. It's like it's the evening time where we're sitting around doing the podcast and in Twitch talking about Eve.
Yeah. Anyway, so instead of talking about Eve, I'm gonna actually log into Eve right now because I would like to do a giveaway. I would like to give away 250 million ISK. So if you are talking in the chat right now, or if you're in the chat, go ahead and start Xing up, and we're going to do a giveaway for 250 mil. That's 250 million ISK.
Can I win?
No.
Damn it.
Can I?
So for those of you that don't know, we actually have an in-game channel that would be Mind Clash Live, 3 separate words, Mind Space Clash Space Live. So if you want to jump in there as well, you can always talk to us in game, out of game, wherever you see us, we can be that. Oh shit, there's lots of X's. Whoa boy.
There's also
free shit X. X.
There's also our Discord linked on the bottom. It's an active community, good for coming on the show if you want to join us.
So I'll go ahead and give it a. It doesn't matter about caps or not. So as long as you've typed an X, either small or big, I will know it. I'll just give it a few more minutes. Can you type the name of the chat? Sure, I can.
I would think a lot of the people that came on Alpha for the free to play would do like KO did. They'll say, "Oh, this isn't for me," and they may come back in 6 months, a year from now, and be like, "Okay, now it is."
Yeah, I mean, it's just is the alpha experience enough though? Is there value in running out your alpha experience all the way to max SP of an alpha? Is there value in that kind of gameplay?
If they go towards faction warfare, I would say yes. I built one and joined Ashtaroth and Aderon, and I'm
nice
blast. And I think if they can get there with the right crowd, I think they could stay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been I can't remember who actually presented the idea. I think it was within Talking in Stations. What if there were different like categories of alphas, right? So you kind of like, you have the alpha, how we know it now, but then you have like a beta that does, you can do Tech 2 modules of certain types, or or access to other racial alpha ships and modules. Kind of, if there was expanded choices as far as that business plan goes.
I think that's a recipe for splitting hairs and losing profit unless you put in potential subscription levels above current EVE levels.
Like a mini plex.
All right, so it looks like we've had plenty of X's in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and roll the giveaway and see who I can give 250 mil for.
Because if like all wormholers or all low seckers could stay on a certain,
You can't win.
he can win.
All right, so it looks like the winner is Sid5099. So Sid 5099, if you could go ahead and send me a direct message here on Twitch with your in-game username, and then I'll just make sure that's you.
Yeah, so you'd have, say, faction warfare guys all hanging out on a certain subscription level, say at half the price from Omega status. That would draw away income from EVE stream, and without balancing that out with putting in a super subscription, something above Omega, where you had double trading time or 10 more clones or full access to every skin or some kind of benefit system, I don't think EVE would go that way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, man. That makes sense. Can't think of any other freemium type of MMO that actually has a diverse selection of plans to kind of, you know what I mean, to kind of use as a reference point.
Yeah, where alphas really went well was it was a replacement of the tutorial system, and in a good way, right? No time limits, play forever as long as you can log in. It doesn't matter. You're never going to be great, but you're always going to be okay, and you can still beat someone. You may not be everyone, you may not be the best of the best, but you can still play and experience this game. And then when you're ready, come on up.
All right, so Sid, this is your last call. Oh, there you are, Mac 5099. All right, let me see if I can find you in game.
So yeah, absolutely.
Sid, can you type in the chat room if you are logged in the game currently?
Like I recently just pushed an alpha, not an alpha, an alt from 3.5 million skill points to 5.5 million skill points, and quickly trained into a bunch of skills that were useful to me. Mind you, I knew what I was going to train into, and that upgraded alt is now super useful to me, and I did it all in 2 hours with skill injectors, and if I didn't have the ISK floating, I could have done that with cash, right? So I've definitely known players who've come in, liked the game after 6 weeks, and quickly put themselves into a 40 mil character. And that's their character, and they're happy with it. And maybe they get bored and they go back to being an alpha for a while, but their character's always there, and they can always come back. They can always be that character again. And EVE has shown its persistence. It'll always be here. As long as the lights are still on at CCP, EVE will probably still be on.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I've been through points in the game where it was common to be just slightly above 10,000 around this time of night.
All right,
it was okay.
Sid, can you go ahead and verify that I have transferred you 250 million ISK in game?
You are now space rich, sort of.
Well, I figured, that's how much I make some money doing some articles, and I might as well give that back. I don't write articles for me. I write it for everyone to read. So if I can go ahead and give back, I would love to do so.
I thought you write them for me.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Thanks.
All right, Sid has verified that I sent him some monies. So I'm going to try to do this every week if I can. Maybe I'll up the ante. Depends on how many viewers we can get.
Well, we want to do shoutouts, or you want to do that last bullet point?
Yeah, so real quick, about 4 or 5 days ago, I received an email from Nidin. He is the editor-in-chief for Crossing Zebras, and he approached me with the idea of possibly hosting Mind Clash on the Crossing Zebras site. So I got a little bit of details on that. Wanted to make sure I knew what I was getting into if I decided to do this. But essentially, what it would do is the show would remain the same. Everything would be as it is. We wouldn't have to do like a plug for Crossing Zebras. We wouldn't have to advertise for them or put any logos up, anything at all. All it would do was alleviate us the cost of having our own personal server. And instead, it would just be hosted on the Crossing Zebras RSS feed. So instead of going searching for Mind Clash in your podcast browser, you would just search for it on Crossing Zebras. So I kind of wanted to get a feel from our viewership and a feel from the guest on how you think if we should proceed with that. I mean, it like I said, the only thing it would change is I wouldn't have to pay the $20 a month that is for our Libsyn feed. Thoughts?
I would still hate PL.
Well, I mean, like, I mean, you're goon. I'm anti-goon. We've had editors. I mean, Tridget is an editor for EN24. So I mean, we all kind of are at, around the way. Even though I'm not a goon, I write for Imperium.news. But I mean, it's just they have access to listeners and viewers that we wouldn't necessarily have, and we have access to listeners and viewers that they might not have. So it'd be kind of a tit for tat.
Well, if you're an avid viewer of the show, come on into the Discord and chat with us about it. We'll think it out.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I've been thinking about it. I've been mulling it over. Uh, there's not much change that it would be besides instead of searching us for us here, you'd search it for us there. So we'll see. We'll give it another 3 or 4 days, and then I'll make a decision. Well, me and Mayor Dud collectively as partners will make a
Oh,
decision.
I get a vote.
Oh boy. So yeah. Besides that, let's roll on into the. But do any of the guests? Do you guys have thoughts on that? Sorry.
Oh man, to be honest with you, if the net result is less hassle, man, that sounds like an easy decision, man.
Well, I
if it
mean,
means getting
there's
more
pros and cons of it, and one of the pros is obviously that I wouldn't have to pay for the server. Uh, Pro would be more viewers. I mean, they'd get thousands of viewers a day or a week or whatever it is, so there'd be more exposure. Con, however, is that they would reserve the right to at any time say, you know what, we're just kind of tired of your show, we're gonna cut it. I don't think they would do that. The way that Nidin pointed it out to me, they seem to love what we're doing with it. So I don't see any fear of that.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I mean, yeah, that's a real tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I
mean,
don't know enough of the tech to make an informed opinion, but if it's, you know what I mean, from a tech perspective, if it becomes to a point where you can provide more focus on the material versus like, oh shit, are all the fucking buttons on,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, because it'd just be the same thing. Just when I post it the next day or a few days later after I edit it, all the audio, it's just going to go on a different site. Ooh, real quick before we go into the shout outs and stuff. Okay, there is a parody dude. His name is Captain Blastaho. So if you've listened to the audio portion of this before, you know that sometimes I often put music, or I always put music at the front and the back of it. But Captain Blastaho is an Eve parody rapper, and it's not just parody. He actually writes and produces original content. That's all Eve. So it's his music, his words, good stuff. I'm trying to reach out to him, and if he happens to listen, or if anybody knows how to get a hold of Captain Blastaho, I've tried reaching out to him several different methods. I want you to write an intro song and perform an intro song for us, and I will pay for it.
I'm almost certain he's a Calmill guy. I remember
do
killing
you?
him a couple times.
Calmill, find Captain Blastaho and tell him
just
I want a
swayed?
song.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I bounce around between Calmill and Galmill all the time. So he's in that war zone.
Anywho, so there's that. Let's go into our elevator pitch.
Oh, well, I'll spend my time talking about the Neocom. You guys were
Yep.
some good stuff. I really liked the Neocom podcast. That was a good show with Proto and Kiara when it was back then, and a couple of people took it over, and I'm glad to hear it's still continuing on despite having no Proto. But
So is the show is going to continue? It's been a while.
Was it Manic or something who was running
Think
it?
the community.
Well, yeah. I mean, for
Manic
a while,
Velocity.
yeah, Manic took it over along with. But as far as like the infrastructure, we've basically scuttled over to Event and have fallen under their
Right.
structure.
Yeah, I like the Neocom. I especially like the tinfoil factory. I like that little kind of mini series.
Yeah, that was
thing.
actually pretty cool. That's pretty fun
Good
to do.
stuff. Good stuff.
Is Eve Reader going to continue, Roedyn?
Sorry?
Is Eve Reader going to continue? Zendane?
That's Zendane.
That I am not sure because he
It's-
produces those on his time. So
Yeah, I think he just kind of partnered with Neocom. He didn't so much. It's not really under their banner, but yeah, he's going to keep doing that for sure. And who wouldn't want to listen to Zendane?
so sexy, man. Sexy.
Definitely
voice.
great.
I mean, can I be space gay for Zendane?
Space Gamers and Nature. Why not?
Golly,
That's a hashtag.
Right?
space gay for Zendane.
I mean, like, if like is he not a voice actor? Because if he isn't, why isn't he?
Right?
He's very he's very
Sexy.
how do you say, he doesn't think he's all that he is, and he's very shy about his skills.
Hashtag
Send a
more
sample to
Zendane.
Audible Books and just get him a job.
God, yeah, you know what? Get him on all the Eve audiobooks. Anyway, so my elevator pitch is going to be the Four Brewers podcast, like I talked about last week with the Dr. Homebrew. This week I've been listening to the Four Brewers podcast. They pretty much sit around and they have a collection of different style of beer, and they taste test it, talk about it. It's good for me as I'm home brewing. Last night I actually brewed a oatmeal stout. So I took a basic stout, like an dry Irish stout recipe, and I added oatmeal, molasses, and cocoa powder. Lots of molasses and cocoa powder. And then when I go ahead and ferment it in the secondary phase, I'm gonna add in some raisins, cinnamon, and vanilla. So I'm learning about brewing. I'm trying to get as much info as I can. So listening to the different brewers podcasts is assisting me in my brewing journey.
Anyone else listening to anything interesting this week, or a podcast, or a YouTube video, or
Nothing new for me, man. I'm just glad everyone's back from holiday and producing their content again.
I mean, we were only gone for 2 weeks, I think.
I think for me, my go-to podcast, staying Eve related for this one, is the Eve Prosper Market Show, covering
Yes.
all the news for the Eve Market and all of that, run by
Is-
Lockfox.
Isn't that so crazy how we have a news show for Eve market analysis?
It's real, man. It's totally real. None of that
It is
fake news
real.
shit.
Too. That's the cool part, is that it's actually good. It's fact based. It's got the right numbers, and it's trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have Eve fake news too.
Fake news is the best.
Talk about Eve Onion News, which is the officially endorsed news site of the Mind Clash podcast.
Yes.
He's so good.
I recently discovered the Micro the Way I Heard It podcast. And they're very short. I think the longest one I've listened to so far is 10 minutes. But great little podcast by a pretty cool guy.
I haven't really been much listening to like a podcast, but e-radio. But like the
Oh,
Big
yeah,
O's is This Week in New Eden show.
I love Twine. Love little. I love me some listen to some British accents while I'm talking about Eve.
He does a really good show.
Yeah,
Him
no,
and Dirk and
Yes.
anybody else come on with them.
Sober Dirk.
Fun fact: This Week in New Eden is the only podcast / stream that I watch on my TV because it's just, I mean, it's kind of convenient. Sunday morning, I'm doing cleaning or cooking or whatever, so it's always just on the TV.
Very
Anywho,
nice.
so yeah, let's start wrapping it up. Starting from the bottom, Erica, if you want to plug yourself or give some sort of shout out.
Yes, I have a shout out to my corp, the Soul Society. Awesome.
Should people vote for you?
Oh, yes, can I talk about that? Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
should.
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just like corp and stuff. Yeah, I am running for CSM again. This is going to be my third year running. I'm still running on my industrial platform and also for advocating for accessibility. So I would love anybody's support. If you have questions, I'm more than willing to sit down with anybody who wants to talk with me and whatnot. So,
Right on.
Erika for CSM 12.
Yay.
I was going to wonder where alphas came from.
They come from alpaca eggs.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Bazinga. All right, Roedyn, shout out.
All right, guys. Again, this is Roedyn running for CSM 12. Probably one of the oddball generalist candidates out there running on a communications platform. As I've kind of displayed a little bit here, I kept repeating that, hey, someone recommended this, someone told me this to push forward. So that's kind of my deal there. And hopefully I'll have more opportunities to present my ideas and the different recommendations that I've been handed to kind of push forward to podcasts just like this one. So stay informed. There's lots of tools out there to actually let you know who's running on what. Noisy Gamers really got a good tool for that one, which was linked on the Twitch chat. So yep, stay informed and vote.
All right, so Roedyn, CSM 12, all the things.
All the things.
And AZE? Commander AZE.
Okay, so I'm one of those people that, again, has run for the last 3 years, and why not do it again? I keep getting a larger and larger following, so hopefully this year, with mining platforms coming out, we need a larger industrial-minded group to be a part of the CSM. Fleet commanders are great, and for tweaking the game as far as balance goes, yes, it's good to have one or two, but you need the people that work with this kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis. Industrialists all the way. You need people that understand moon management. You need somebody to push for the little things. The quality of life changes. Additionally, there needs to be people out there that push to improve the NPE and grow that new player experience that is vital to keeping people in the game past the tutorial. Additionally, as you've heard on here, and if you check out my campaign post on the forums, I've been working on war decks for years. Roedyn's on the war deck panel with me. Additionally, we've got Toxic Yakin. I believe Toxic is also running for CSM.
That's true. That's true.
You know, the more people that we can get on there that can bring this forward as a important change to making the game better will make it better for everybody. So let's see what we can do about that. Additionally, I do want to do a shout out to my alliance, and for anybody out there who's looking for a cool group to hang out with. If you're new, old, Lin Kuei, we take everybody. No API required.
Dangerous.
We're in high sec, so what are they going to steal?
I'm sure Roedyn will come up with something.
There's always something.
Always. All right. Number one fan.
Just thanks for allowing me to come talk about the game I love so much, and thanks for keeping me posted on things. And I enjoy podcasts.
I love podcasts. Magnus, are you just saying you love something that you're looking at?
Oh, and just to let you know, KO, because you didn't seem to get the memo, I changed my Twitter name.
Oh, yeah, I got you. Hey, did you get your package yet?
I did. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
KO was nice enough to send me Internet is Spaceships is Serious Business, signed by KOD. I appreciate it.
I did sign it. So, anyways, next week I may or may not be giving out a copy of the Eve. What is it? The History of Eve, the Great Empires of Eve. I'm going to give that away next week. So if you're watching next week, if you're listening right now, make sure you watch next week, because one lucky viewer is going to get a copy of the Empires of Eve book for free.
But I have that book.
Well, some people don't.
I mean, I should read it.
Mirdud, go ahead and give your shout outs, my friend.
Well, I was going to shout out Busing for being my space gay lover, but he doesn't want my love.
Oh.
I see how it is. I'm going to shout out Iron Armada. Thanks for letting me come on that fleet last week. I had a good time. Maybe I'll get a chance to fly with you soon if you stop being some Circle of Test friends.
And then for me, I'm just going to shout out to all our viewers / listeners. If you have any input on what you think we should do as far as going to Crossing Zebras, please hit us up. I'm on Twitter at KO Decadence, and then Mirdud is at Mirdud_Eve. So feel free to hit us up and chat with us, throw us some show ideas. Make sure if you're watching, you hit that link down at the bottom. You know what? Should we throw out a permalink on the audio as far as getting on the Discord?
Yeah, do it.
All right, stand by. All right, so the permalink, if you would like to join our Discord where we can talk about the next week's show or what you think we should talk about at some time, or just to generally chat with us, https:// is it a backslash or forward slash, whatever, / discord.gg/MJJFRVD. That's Mike, Juliet, Foxtrot, Romeo, Victor, Delta on Discord. Go ahead and get yourself into the Discord chat and talk with us, and we can talk about all the things.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching episode 21 of the Mind Clash podcast. We'll see you next week at this time. 0300 Eve time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and live here on Twitch. twitch.tv/Minecraft Live.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
God, I'm fucking wasted. I'm trying to maintain